What up? Welcome to my Kotis the Fangkeeper EDH deck. This is a new guy from Tarkir, and he's really cool. So he's a 4 mana, 2/1 with indestructible, and he has whenever he deals combat damage to a player, you exile the top X cards of their library, where X is the amount of damage dealt. You can then cast any number of those spells with mana value X or less from among them without paying their mana cost. So TLDR, you hit them, you take for, let's say you hit them for 10. You look at the top 10, you exile their top 10, so it also kind of mills. And then you can play anything with CMC 10 or less, or cast anything, because you can't play lands. Yeah, so this is a Voltron commander, but I also call it Theft, but good, because you're playing Theft, but all the Theft effects are just like purely value, and your win con is just commander damage and doing big unblockable swing things. This deck, also very cheap, coming in an estimated $65 without the land base. Yeah, obviously that's on TCG players, so your prices may vary based on where you're buying from. But yeah, let's get into it. So there's a bunch of artifacts, obviously, because equipment and mana rocks, because you want to be able to ramp into this guy really quickly. So like turn 2, play Arcane Signet, turn 3, play him. Very strong. Yeah, Arcane Signet's Arcane Signet. It probably just goes in every EDH deck ever, unless you're like an anti-artifact deck for some reason. Next up, Champion's Helm, +2/+2. If it's legendary, which your commander is, it has hexproof. This is great because having indestructible and hexproof makes it really hard to interact with. They have to have something like a Grave Pact, and you only have that on board, or like a Farewell or something to get rid of it. Cloak of the Bat is here mainly to give flying. The haste is nice if it comes out, if you like recast your commander later on. It'll be able to swing on the first turn, but yeah, mainly the flying to get around things. Fire Shrieker's in here for more the commander damage win con. Double Strike's pretty anti-synergistic with the commander. You'd rather hit for 4 than hit for 2 and 2, because you'd exile the same amount of cards, but you'd only be able to cast mana value 2 or less from each pile instead of one big pile with 4. Haunted Cloak is here mainly for Vigilance and Trample, because getting through damage can be hard, and you just want as many options, as many ways to see that as possible with this deck. Erd Heirloom is a new Tarkir card. I believe it's the only other non-commander new card in the deck. It's a 2-mana mana rock that adds 1 mana of any color for creature spells, which is already pretty good. It also has, you can tap until end of turn, target creature you control with power 4 or greater, like your big old commander, gains trample, and whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. So this is card advantage. This helps your commander get through blockers. Very synergistic card with the deck. We got Hot Soup. I love this card because it's named Hot Soup. And then I read the card, I'm like, oh, it actually works well in the deck. Equipped creature can't be blocked, which is obviously very good for you. And then whenever equipped creatures dealt damage, destroy it. Obviously that's a downside, but when your commander's indestructible, that is irrelevant. So there's no downside to the card. Key to the City's here to make it so you can make a creature unblockable this turn. It's also technically card cycling / advantage when you untap it, which is nice. Lockstone Warhammer's in here because it's just a great card for every Voltron deck, I feel. +3/+0, trample, lifelink. Is safety with the lifelink, is trample so you get through. It makes your guy a lot bigger. Mask of Memories in here for just as like a pure value piece. Whenever a equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, draw 2, trash 1. It's cheap. It's a good way to cycle through cards and see everything you need. Very good card. Nettlesis is in here because you run a lot of equipment or artifacts and enchantments. It can make your commander big, obviously, after the Might is dead. And yeah, just, I don't know, another really good card. Nevini Rules Disc is in the deck, mainly because I wanted to make it kind of budgety, and a lot of the Sultai board wipes, I believe the colors are Sultai, aren't great, or they're great, but they're really expensive, and that doesn't really fit with budget. So yeah, Nevini Rules Disc, 4 mana, enters battlefield tapped. You can pay 1 tap at sack it, destroy all artifacts, creatures, and enchantments. You can just have this on board like early and use it as a threat piece. Force people to deal with it, and then they're just using removal on this instead of a better target like a good artifact that's equipped to your commander. It's also, obviously, you want board wipes that say destroy all creatures, because then your commander gets through it. Downside of this is it also destroys artifacts and enchantments, but that's fine. We're running a bunch of board wipes, so it's not a must. It can also just be kind of like a, oh, I might do it, but you'll never do it. Prowler's Helm is in the deck. Creature can be blocked except by walls, so in the rare chance you're playing against that commander that cares about walls, darn. In every other matchup, it just can't be blocked. Psychic Papers in here is a 2-mana equipment. As this equipment enters, it becomes attached to a creature, which is really nice. You don't have to pay the equip too. Choose a creature card name and a creature type. Equipped creature has ward 1, can't be blocked, and its name and creature type are the last chosen name of creature type. This last line is irrelevant, really. It's just ward 1 can't be blocked. I'm sure there's like some way to make this like name a creature type and last chosen name, and like that's cool. No, yeah, this is just ward 1 can't be blocked. Soul Ring's in the deck because it's the most broken card in EDH probably. Sonic Screwdriver's in here as a 3-mana artifact, but also you can untap an artifact, or you can make a creature not blocked. You can also scry one, but who really cares about that? Yeah, but target creature can't be blocked this turn, really useful. Shronic Resonator's in here. You can copy the triggered ability of your commander. So let's say it triggers for 10, you get 2 triggers of 10, you're looking at the top 20. You're still taking CMC 10 or less from each pile, which is always fine, but yeah, this helps you steal more cards, which gets you more value. Swiftfoot Boots in the deck. Lightning Greaves not in the deck because Shroud is bad when you want to play Voltron. Sword of Vengeance. Equipped creature gets +2/+0, has First Strike, Vigilance, Trample, and Haste. First Strike, Vigilance, and Trample, really, really nice. Haste is alright. Key to the Vault. You can equip this, and whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to player, look at that many cards from top of your library. So this is like what the commander does to others, but to yourself. You exile a non-land card from among them, put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. You can cast the exiled card without paying its mana cost. So this lets you, whenever you deal a lot, it's almost like a really big scry, and you can just cast the card that you scry to the top for free, which really strong. 3-man Power Suit's in here, +1/+1 for each aura and equipment attached to it, and it has ward 2. Great Voltron piece when you're playing a lot of auras and equipments. As for the creatures, I was kind of struggling to put creatures into the deck. If you remember, I made a Narset Voltron deck a while ago, and that deck runs 2 creatures, and I think playing creatures in Voltron is kind of necessary because you only have 1 creature. It's very easy for like target player sacrifices a creature. But I wasn't really sure what I wanted to run synergy wise, so I kind of just threw in like really good generic cards that you can run in these colors. If you guys have any suggestions for cards, like I think off the top of my head I'm not running Ethereum Sculptor, which makes all my artifacts cheaper, but yeah, if you have any good suggestions for creatures, let me know, or anything I'm missing from the deck, because yeah, I feel like the creatures in here are just for value. Like Baleful Strix, 2-mana 1/1 flying death touch. When it enters, draw a card. It's a very whatever card. Like it's a good solid generic card, but it's not super good specifically to the deck. Elvish Mystic is a mana dork. I think you run a bunch of mana dorks because you want to ramp into your commander as quickly as possible. Eternal Witness is here. When it enters, return target card from graveyard to hand. Again, like generic, very good. I think the one specific creature that I am running that's really good for the deck is Gaunty. So whenever a player casts a spell they don't own, that player creates a treasure token. And whenever a creature deals combat damage to one of your opponents, its controller looks at the top card of their library. You exile it face down, and you can cast it with any mana color. Really, you're just playing this for the first effect, because you're going to be casting a lot of opponents' cards, and you're just going to make a lot of treasure tokens like that. So this is like a very good value piece. I actually really like the design of this card. I think it's really cool. Hullbreaker Horror's in here. It's a big generic good card. When you cast a spell, you bounce something to hand, or you bounce a spell to hand. I don't know. Sure, why not? Land of More Elves. Same reason I'm running Elvish Mystic. I just want the ramp. Morbid Opportunist. Generic. When something dies, I draw a card. Awesome. Ornate Frostfang. Attacking creatures you control have Death Touch, which makes people want to block my commander less. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Great for my commander. Also, the interaction with Death Touch and Trample, making it so you only have to trample 1 damage, or apply 1 damage to each creature for Trample to go through. Ornithopter of Paradise, just a generic Mana Dork, it can also block, which is cool. Reclamation Stage, when it enters, you can destroy an artifact or enchantment. This is just good removal. Steve is ramp. Solemn Simulacrum is ramp, and when it dies, I draw one, which is cool. Thas is in here. I can pay 2, make a creature unblockable, which is nice. If it becomes a creature, cool. It's also indestructible, so it's immune to all the board wipes I'm running. And I get to scry one. It's overall just like a very good generic card for the deck. I do think that's one of the better like tuned to the commanders because the 2 mana makes something unblockable. Onto the enchantments. Aether Tunnel +1/+0 can't be blocked. Aqueous Form can't be blocked whenever it attacks scry 1, which is nice. Audacity. I believe this is literally just a Rancor, but like with a different name. Equipped creature goes +2/+0, has trample, which is great, and when it is put into a graveyard from battlefield, draw a card. Okay, so instead of returning a hand, you draw a card. But besides that, same card. Combat Research, enchant a creature. Whenever enchanted creature deals combat damage to a player, you draw a card. And as long as the enchanted creature is legendary, which it is, it gets +1/+1 and ward 1, which is really, really good. Drake Umbra, 5 mana, give it +3/+3 in flying. I do need to run a certain amount of enchantments and artifacts that make my guy bigger. I can't just be like all protection for him. So yeah, this just gives flying and makes him bigger, which is great. Kai's Ghost Form, when an enchanted permanent dies or is put into exile, return that card to the battlefield under your control. This is pretty good protection for my commander. Obviously, it's very, very hard to get rid of it. So if you just have Kai's Ghost Form on it as well, you have to get rid of it twice, which can be really, really hard. Kenra's Transformations in here for just kind of enchantment removal. I like running different types of removal. I've been into that pretty recently. So like this, you make something into a 3/3 elk, and when it enters, you draw a card, which is also nice. Propagandist in here in case I don't see any creatures and I don't want to die right away while playing Theft. So yeah, make it so it's harder for people to attack. Rancor. +2/+0 and trample. When it dies, return to your hand. Really good card because you just kind of always put on your commander. Snake Umbra, 3 mana, gets +1/+1, has whenever this creature deals combat damage to an opponent, draw a card, because card draw is really good. Vraska Joins Up is 2 mana. When it enters, you put a death touch counter on each creature you control, which makes people not want to block your commander, as well as whenever a legendary creature you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Again, just card draw. The instants and sorceries, it's literally just like pure Sultai, like counter magic and removal. An offer you can't refuse, just a counter spell. Same with Arcane Denial. Beast Within is removal, counter spell, go for the throat. I'm also playing a bit of ramp, and the ramp like involves card draw, which is nice. So Growth Spiral is in there. Planar Genesis, like the top 4, you can either ramp one or put any card into your hand from top 4. It's just a very good generic card. Putrefy is removal. Slip Out Back is protection. You can let your commander phase out, so if they have like a farewell, it protects you from that. Sultai Charm, you can destroy a monocolored creature, destroy target artifact or enchantment, or draw 2, trash 1. Withering Torment hits a creature or an enchantment. Onto the lands, surprisingly cheap land base for 3 color. I was surprised by that. I guess a lot of the better lands are actually have been reprinted, so they're not too pricey. Bojuka Bog, good card. Command Tower, obviously. Dreamer Cascade is one of the slow lands. Also is reprinted in Tarkir Commander. That's cool. Drowned Catacomb, obviously. Exotic Orchard because I'm playing 3 color. Hinterland Harbor, as you're playing a bunch of basics, so it'll usually come in untapped. Llanowar Waste is nice. Opulent Palace is your cheap tri-land. Path of Ancestry is just kind of taps for one of any color of your commander's identity, and it enters tapped. You can only just think of it as an Opulent Palace. It's the same card. Reliquary Tower, because I'm drawing a lot of cards and I'm playing a lot of counter magic and removal. Rogue's Passage to make my commander unblockable. Sunken Hollow as a slow land, and the temples. Swamper Forest, Yavimaya Coast, and then onto the sorceries, which are more important than all these lands. So for sorceries, Artful Dodge is target creature is unblockable, which is nice. Also has flashback, so you can do it twice, which makes it better than most of the unblockable ones. Crux of Fate is one of the board wipes. It's, I think, maybe one of the more expensive board wipes in the deck. I'm not sure. You can destroy all dragon creatures or destroy all non-dragon creatures. Realistically, unless somebody's playing dragons, you just destroy all non-dragons and your commander doesn't die because they're indestructible. Decree of Pain, destroy all creatures that can't be regenerated. Draw a card for each creature destroyed this way, which is nice. You can also cycle it and give everything -2/-2 to really hit those human token players. And usually your commander will be big enough, it just won't be affected by the -2/-2. Enter the Enigma, can't be blocked. Draw a card. This is also just 1 mana draw card. Fetus Form is removal. Ingruk's Wake as a 9 mana non-equal, like destroy all creatures you don't control, which is nice. So your board is safe, as well as your board of creatures that you've stolen from your opponents. Necromantic Selection, destroy all creatures and return a creature card put into the graveyard this way to the battlefield under your control. It's a black zombie in addition to its other color types, and you exile the card. This kind of just like a cool board wipe, and does a little bit of theft, where I steal one of the cards in the graveyard, so that's cool. Onto the Maybeboard. These are just kind of more expensive cards that also I was just like, I could fit this in the deck, but there's probably cheaper options that are maybe slightly worse, but whatever. Assassin's Trophy is just destroy permanent. It's a really, really good card. I was just like, I can run something else instead. And originally I was running like 14, 15 instants, and I'm like, I can cut it down. I don't need this much removal. Blackblade Reforged will just make your commander very big, but it doesn't do anything else. And I'm like, I'm only seeing 1 land a turn usually, so it's not too crazy of a card. Braids is just like a super good generic black card. At the beginning of event setup, you can sacrifice an artifact, creature, enchantment, land, or planeswalker, and then each of your opponents have to. If not, they lose 2 life. And you draw a card. So yeah, this is just like a very good generic card. Leyline Axe, I kind of got rid of. Also, one, it's $3, and I'm like, there's cheaper stuff that's slightly worse, but it's fine. But also just like, it is 7 mana to equip unless you see it in your opening hand, which is pretty unreliable in EDH with like an 100 card singleton. +1/+1 double strike and trample is very good, but for 7 mana I think there's better value picks. Song of Dryad is like Kenrith Transformation, except it makes a creature a forest, so it's much better. You can make somebody's commander into a forest, and it's really hard for them to interact with it. They'd have to like remove the enchantment on the forest. Yeah, this is a very, very good card. Reality Chip is just like a good generic value piece that you can play in most blue decks or any decks that run blue. And then Trailblazers Boots, non-basic Landwalk. This is getting to pretty much every mono, or like every deck. Monocolored, it's slightly worse, but even then they'll run a lot of non-basics like Den of the Bugbear in red, or Urborg and stuff like that in Cabal Coffers in black, for example. But yeah, that's the deck. If I missed anything or any like good value cards, let me know in the comments. Also, yeah, the creatures, I don't know. A lot of these creatures, I'm like, yeah, dude, these are good creatures. Unfortunately, there are no Rex yet, so I kind of just did go to Scryfall, sorted by like best creatures, and yeah. Same with most of the categories, and just using like knowledge I have from Narset. But either way, thank you very much for watching. I'll be back next week with actual probably like mono black control removal stuff. Like I said I was going to do last week. It was just I saw this card and I'm like, oh, this card is sick. I actually really want to build this. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.